Our scripture lesson for this morning is the first verse of Psalm 127. And it says simply that unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. May the Lord add his blessing to that reading of a portion of his holy word. I have said on many occasions, and I am happy to repeat again this morning, that when it comes to reasons for the celebration of Mother's Day, I am a 3 times blessed man. On many occasions you have heard me recall the life and memory of my mother and express appreciation and deep love and affection for her and for the vital role that she played not only in giving me birth but in shaping my life toward being and doing something that's good. As a matter of fact, my experience with her in the early days of my life prior to her death have convinced me that Paul knew what he was talking about when he wrote his letter to the church at Corinth and said, "True love never comes to an end." About a year and a half after my mother died, I met a lady who was to become another of the most influential and loving persons in my life. She and I came to know each other and to love one another through our common love for the Lord, even before I met her daughter. What Rosie and I did not know was that after Mom had met me, she started praying that Rosie and I would get together. And after some initial resistance to the Lord and Mom together, Mom's prayer was answered, and I'm glad. For no person in the world could have loved and cared and supported and prayed for and blessed me in so many wonderful ways as my mom, and I'm glad she's with us today. Third, my children join with me in honoring and paying respect to Rosemarie, their mother and my wife, for the deep and rich investment that she has made in our lives. On Mother's Day, then, it seems altogether appropriate and an easy thing for me to do to pay tribute to these persons who have meant so very, very much in my life, loving me and helping me to be who I am and in doing what I'm doing. I know that many of you, if you had the opportunity of standing here before me today, could say similar things out of your own experience. Mother's Day, however, is intended not simply to say things to Mother on this one day of the year and then to forget her for the rest of time or simply to take her for granted. The festival of the Christian home, with the concentration upon the love and the spirit that our mothers have shared with us, serves as a reminder to us of some of the spiritual values and meanings and experiences that we consider to be dear and vital in the lives of every one of us. And it provides the occasion for a new commitment to those things which we say must not be lost. My own experience, for example, has led me to conclude that the family and the home provide one of the most important settings in all of our lives, not simply for the developing of deep human relationships, but also for experiencing God at a significant level in our lives and of letting his love and life become real to us. When a child grows up in a family where love and loving are considered to be essential ingredients, where they are regularly expressed in word and demonstration by deed, it is much easier for a child to believe that the essential reality of the universe is a loving reality, and if that be who we call God, then he must surely be, as Jesus revealed him to be, as a loving Father. My own home, then, was my first church, because it was there that I first encountered God. And I hope my children and your children will be able to say the same. It was there that I first came to know of an ultimate reality who was loving, who could be trusted, who would be with me, and I did not have to fear to go out into life. The organized church simply came alongside with me in my growing years and clarified and enlarged and developed and enabled me through training to live a Christian life, as through it I became integrated into all of God's family, over which He is Father. In a recent survey of several of the members of this congregation by Tom Scott for a sociology project, it was interesting to note in the results that many, indeed most, a high percentage of those who are active in the life of this congregation today had a similar experience in your childhood. When as a child at home you experienced God as a vital reality in the midst of that close environment in which you lived, and you regularly expressed that faith in worship and study and prayer, roots were being planted out of which the fruits of your Christian living and responsibility today have emerged. And it is also true, on the other hand, that where there was no experience in the home where God was regularly recognized and where faith in Him was expressed and love experienced, today inactivity claims a much higher percentage of persons in that category as well. Now, what does that say to us? The answer is obvious. It says to us that the home which exists as a church, in which its members experience the reality of God in faith and express His love as it lives within them with one another, has a very vital role to play in shaping the lives and destiny of its members. Look at it from a very practical aspect if you want to. The home is the most persistent factor in the lives of children under normal circumstances, at least until after they've graduated from high school. The social, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual well-being of a child is largely determined by the care, the affection, the respect, the understanding, the love, the encouragement that they either experience or do not experience in the context of their homes. No other single unit in our society carries greater responsibility for giving to a person a sense of self-affirmation and worth under proper circumstances, or a more self-defeating, depersonalizing view under circumstances of adversity than the home. Even the status in the community, especially for children, is largely determined by the reputation of the family. The child and the persons within families' expectations of society in terms of its limitations and possibilities are largely shaped out of the context from which he comes. It is also there that the child learns, and we continue to learn, what it means to think of ourselves as persons and how to treat other persons. For it is there that we learn what it is that is to be truly cherished, possessions or persons. I could go on naming many other things that you already know, but I think my point is well made. The home is a vital and critical unit in the creation and preservation of healthy spiritual personhood. Every person, I'm convinced, needs a home, not only in which they are trained and equipped and out of which they are hurled into life to live on their own, but also a place and people in it to whom and to which they return on a regular basis from their struggles with the world, that they may feel their soul restored, their energies replenished, that they may return to the world and go on in the pilgrimage and venture in which they are engaged. The home, then, is a vital and critical unit in the lives of every one of us, as persons as well as a unit. How then shall we make our homes this kind of bulwark to strengthen and enable and encourage us as we live in the midst of a perplexing society? The first thing I would suggest is that we need to increasingly learn what it means in order to more deeply commit ourselves to being a family under God. And by under, I don't mean that He's up there somewhere and we're down here. By under God, I mean instead that we recognize and see ourselves as persons and within families who are willing to be submissive to the sovereignty of God over all of us. Basically, what that means is that not one of us needs to try to be God. There is one. There is no need to try to lord it over anyone else. There is a Lord. And it sets us free to discover the real deep meaning of our humanity as persons. I do not know of another attitude, another philosophy, another thought that can free us more for being able to care, to love, to encourage, to support, to give ourselves to another in joy than this. I don't know of anything else that provides more occasion for the sharing of joy and happiness and for the diminishing of competition, of combat and jealousy. Where the Lord is recognized as the head of the house, we can get rid of the one-upmanship that destroys so many families. And we can actually be free to celebrate the successes and achievements of others, knowing that we have a part of it because we're a part of them. What this means is that we experience the grace of God, not only for us, but at work in us. And when that happens, something unconditional breaks in upon the conditional limitations and experiences of the natural family and allows for an intimacy that simply is not possible anywhere else. For feelings that are deep and abiding that simply cannot happen unless we're free to be in life in that way. When the Lord is recognized as sovereign over our entire house, it also means that each person within that household recognizes a claim upon ourselves to be and to do more than any one of us may feel like being or doing at any given time, because we're a part of a whole. We're not just in life for ourselves. It provides encouragement and enlightenment. It provides vision and hope for the highest expression and fulfillment of life. How do you do that? How do you make God sovereign in your life? My friends, you can't do it without commitment, without an intentional determination to set God over all. And then to enlarge and nurture that commitment by worship, prayer, and the study of the Scripture and the sharing of experiences of it with others. I first met God in the church in my house. And I hope my children can say something like that. Is that what's happening in your house? And if it's not, ought it not to be? The second thing I would suggest is that strong families, like strong individuals, not only need to feel empowered, but to have a reason for employing that power in a meaningful purpose. Families not only need to feel that God has blessed us, but also that God claims us. In a secular society such as the one in which we live today, it is increasingly difficult to try to keep alive, much less to try to continue to teach by precept and example a lifestyle that is not oriented towards sex, success, or self-gratification. Indeed, in the effort to try to do so, one finds that we feel that we're swimming upstream in a raging river at times. And many feel that it's simply easier simply to go along with the stream. And that kind of weak acquiescence is the reason that family life in America today is in trouble. We need to hear on this Mother's Day, on this festival of the Christian home, that God has not only blessed us with love, but He expects it of us. I am deeply disturbed by a generation of people who willingly and openly admit that they would not want to live in a society which did not embrace and embody at least some of the Christian ethic, yet who feel no sense of responsibility for preserving that for anyone else. Instead, they want somebody else to do it for them while they do their own thing. What kind of ingrates have we developed in our generation who are willing simply to spend the assets of someone else's labor and to feel no sense of need and responsibility for self-investment, to see that those who come after us will have as good a life as we've had. It simply is not enough to be parasites on a culture, sucking out of it all that we want for ourselves, growing fat on someone else's labors. To do so means we not only do not respect the culture, we do not respect ourselves. What we need then to be strong families is a sense of mission, a sense of meaningful purpose in our lives as God's people. That we are placed here not simply to receive, but to give. What we need is a sense of mission that claims us for something noble and good, for those things that are pure and holy and honorable. And the reason for doing so is not to do something for God. It's to live your life at its best and to do something for you. The net result of this is to return from selfishness to self-affirmation, and there's a real difference. It is to change from the inevitable boredom of having everything to do with but no reason to do for. It is the open doorway out of apathy and indifference into meaning and hope. It is the avenue out of death into life, for it is the way that God leads. My friends, such a life doesn't just happen. It will only happen when there is an awareness of the grace and love of God which empowers us to make a deep commitment of faith and hope and to give ourselves to it. And the reward of that will be, for those who dare to take the venture, a place in eternity. For this is of God. You said in the call to worship, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Did you mean it? God wants your answer because He loves you. Let us pray. Oh God, our Father, who has loved us and given us love to share, give us grace that produces courage, and courage that produces commitment. That the lives of each of us and all of us may be ennobled because we have dared to live life with you and for you, to your glory and our fulfillment.